nature is most bountiful in her business of going the extra mile, and in return, she is very demanding in seeing that every living creature goes the extra mile. Bees are provided with honey as compensation for their services in fertilizing the flowers in which the honey is attractively stored. But they have to perform the service to get the honey, and it must be performed in advance. Nature, you've heard it said that the birds of the air and the beasts of the jungle neither weave nor spin, but they always live and eat. But you know, if you observe wildlife at all, they don't eat without performing some sort of service, without working, without doing something before they can eat. Take a flock of common old cornfield crows, for instance. They have to organize. They have to have sentinels to put down for their protection. They travel in flocks. They have sentinels. They have codes by which to warn one another. They have to do a lot of educating before they can even eat safely. And nature requires man to go the extra mile. He's got to go out, and if he's going to have food, all food comes out of the ground. And if he's going to have food, he's got to plant seed. He can't live entirely on what nature plants. Not in civilized life he can't, at least. Over on the islands, where some places where not civilized, I suppose they depend on eating raw coconuts and what have you. But in civilized life, we have to plant our food in the ground. We have to clear the ground first. We have to plow it. We have to harrow it. We have to fence it. We have to protect it against predatory animals and so forth. And all of that costs labor and time and money. And all of that has to be done in advance, or you're not going to eat. I wouldn't have any trouble at all selling this idea that nature makes everybody go the extra mile to a farmer. He knows that, beyond any question of a doubt. He knows every minute of his life that if he doesn't go the extra mile, he doesn't eat. He doesn't have anything to sell. A new employee, for instance, going into a new job, can't come right in immediately and start going the extra mile and immediately demand top wages or the best job in the place. You just don't. It doesn't work out that way. You have to establish a record, a reputation. You have to get yourself recognized and received in this business of going the extra mile before you can begin to put pressure on to get compensation back. As a matter of fact, if you go the extra mile in the right sort of mental attitude, the chances are 1,000 to 1 you'll never have to ask for compensation according to the service you rendered, because it'll be tendered you automatically in the way of promotions, in the way of increased salary. And throughout the whole universe, everything has been so arranged through the law of compensation, so adequately described by Emerson, that nature's budget is balanced, so to speak. Everything has its opposite equivalent in something else. Positive and negative in every unit of energy. Day and night, hot and cold, success and failure, sweet and sour, happiness and misery, man and woman. Everywhere and everything one may see the law of action and reaction in operation. Everything you do, everything you think, every thought that you release causes a reaction. If not on somebody else, on the person releasing the thought. Because you never, as a matter of fact, when you release a thought, you're not through with it. Every thought that you express, silently even, becomes a definite part of the pattern of your subconscious mind. And if you store in that subconscious mind enough negative thoughts, you'll be predominantly negative. And if you follow the habit of releasing only the positive thoughts, your subconscious pattern will be predominantly positive. And you will attract to you the things, all of the things that you want. And if you're negative, you'll repel the things that you want and attract only the things you don't want. That's a law of nature, too. And this business of going the extra mile is one of the finest ways that I know of educating your subconscious mind to attract to you the things you want and to repel the things you don't want. And you can put it down as an established fact that if you neglect to develop and apply this principle of going the extra mile, you will never become personally successful and you will never become financially independent. The reason I happen to know it sound is, you see, I've had a great privilege over you that you haven't had yet, but you will have in time. I've had the privilege of observing a great many thousands of people, some of whom applied the principle of going the extra mile and some of whom did not. And I have had the privilege of finding out what happened to those who did and those who didn't. And I know beyond any question of a doubt that nobody ever rises above ordinary or stations in life or mediocrity without the habit of going the extra mile. It just doesn't happen. If I had discovered one case, just one case, where somebody went on to the top without going the extra mile, I would say then there are exceptions. But I am in a position to say there are no exceptions because I have never found that one case. And I can definitely tell you from my own experiences, and I have been there every minute of my life, that I have never had a major benefit of any kind in the world, that I didn't get it as a result of going the extra mile. Now that's the thing that I want you to do. I want you to become self-determining so you can do these things without the help of anybody. That's the time when the payoff will come to you, when you can go out and do anything in this world that you want to do, and whether anybody wants you to do it or whether they want to help you or whether they don't. You can do it on your own. I want to tell you that's one of the grandest, most glorious feelings that I know anything about, knowing that as I stand here talking to you, that whatever I wanted to do, I can do it. I don't have to ask anybody. Not even my wife. But if I had to ask her, I would, because I'm on good terms with her. Then here's a little item now that's not to be sniffed at. Peace of mind that I got out of all this work, coming out of those 20 years of going the extra mile. Do you have any idea, ladies and gentlemen, how many people there are in the world at any one time who are willing to do anything for 20 years in succession without getting something back out of it? Do you have any idea how many people there are in this world who are willing to do something 3 days in succession without being sure they're going to get something out of it? You'd be surprised if you found out how few there are. You'd be surprised. And overlooking one of the grandest opportunities that a human being could possibly have, especially here in this country of ours where we really can create our own destiny, where we can express ourselves in any way that we want to. Speech is free, activities are free, education is free. A wonderful opportunity to get right in and go the extra mile in any direction you want to travel. And yet most people are not doing it. I have seen the time when there were not so many people interested in that philosophy because they were prosperous, they were doing all right, they had no troubles to speak of. Today everybody almost has troubles, or he thinks he has. Now, do you know what I do instead of finding out what's wrong with the rest of the world? Do you know how I put in my time?
Find out what's wrong with him.
Yes, I try to find out what I can do to correct this guy here. That I have to eat with him, I have to sleep with him, I have to shave his face every morning, I have to wash his face, I have to give him a bath now and then. Why, you have no idea how many things I have to do for him. And I have to live with the guy 24 hours a day. So I put in my time trying to improve myself, and through myself trying to improve my friends and my students by writing books and by delivering lectures and by teaching and in other ways. And it pays off very much better than it would if I sat down and took the old Trib or any of the other papers and read all of the murder stories, all of the divorce scandals and everything that blazoned across the pages every day. So I'm still talking about this fellow Napoleon Hill who didn't have sense enough not to decline Andrew Carnegie's offer to work 20 years for nothing. In his declining years will be years of happiness because of the seeds of kindness and help sown in the hearts of others. That's a wonderful thing. If I had my life to live over again, I'd live it just exactly the way I have. I'd make all the mistakes I have made. I'd make them at the time in life when I made them, back early, so I'd have time enough to correct some of them. And that period during which I would come into peace of mind and understanding would be in the afternoon of life, not in the forenoon. Because I could stand it. I can take it. When you're young, you can take it. But when you pass the noon hour and you go into the afternoon, why, your energies are not as great